everybody. My name is Emy McB. This is my very first podcast ever. Okay. How do I start this? So I decided to start this podcast because my best friend ever, which this is a whole other story, but because we've been friends for literally 20 years and I'm only 25 years old. She started a podcast not that long ago, and I featured on it so many times that I thought I should really just have my own because I have a lot to yap about. That sometimes, everybody does this. Like, they have their thoughts, and they're like, this really eats, and I think that, I can't believe I just used the word eats, like, I am too old for that. But it really, sometimes I really think I cook, and I want people to know my thoughts, even though they probably don't really care. So, that's what we're doing right now. We're just gonna word vomit and see how it comes out. Anyway, so... Oh my gosh, I have notes. Guys, this is my first podcast. Okay, so, do you want to... Okay. I need to stop. Hey, I need to stop. Should I pause this? Fuck. Okay. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna free throw it. So, this podcast I'm calling, what am I calling it? Graduating Without a Plan. And it's exactly what it sounds like because I recently graduated from Stony Brook University. Believe it or not, I am college educated. And I had no plan for it. So this is the background on my college experience. I went to college because I am an American and that is what everybody tells you should do. That you go to high school, you go straight from high school to college, you have your all-American college experience, you get laid, you... find your independence, find your squad, live in squalor, and then return to the workforce later on to be productive to society, which theoretically I guess used to work, but really just doesn't anymore because everybody's in crippling debt. And college is, like, everybody's talking about it now that college is a scam, but I was ahead of this. I had these thoughts way before anyone ever said college was a scam. So I can elaborate on that later, I guess. But anyway, so I went to college. I actually went to a school very local to me. I live on Long Island. Everyone knows this about me. I'm not like doxing myself or whatever. But I live on Long Island in New York. And I went to a local college called Five Towns, which was a music school. I went there for one semester. I was in a really bad place emotionally before that for a lot of reasons. Should we just dive in? So, one being, I had like a childhood illness called PANS. I don't even talk about this stuff anymore because it feels so long ago. It's like, I don't want to out myself as being, a sick child, but here I am. And, you know what? I'm not even going to get into it. There were so many things that happened that year that just contributed to my downfall. And I went to college, having basically no life experience. I was homeschooled in high school because I was sick. So I just threw myself in. And I had some good times. I could get into Five Towns so much, too. I learned so much. Okay, ready? So this is... sorry. So this is what I learned at Five Towns. Almost nothing, because I got Lyme disease. Just to finish the thought, because I don't do that often. I got Lyme disease at college, or actually before then, but I didn't know that I had it the whole time, and I was really like tripping on my own brain chemicals. If you've ever had Lyme disease, it's hard to explain. You just kind of feel like ass, and you don't really know why, and I just chalked it up to the fact that it was my first semester of college. I was kind of staying out late, and then, not eating my best, and my friends, were kind of like, hey, you're not leaving your room. Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, well, I'm just like watching Blood Feuds of America and eating cinnamon buns because, that's what happens when you get freedom for the first time. You just eat whatever you want. And, I put on like 10 pounds in college just from like alcohol and cinnamon buns. And as soon as I left, it was gone. But it was funny. I was like, oh, freshman 15 will never get me. I was like, okay, be real with yourself. Anyway. But my friends actually addressed it with me. They were like, you haven't left your room. Are you okay? And then one day I was actually like tripping out. I was genuinely tripping out. I think I was so sleep deprived because you sleep funny when you have Lyme disease. And I think in combination with the fact that I already had PANS, which was like a neurological like issue, I literally felt like I was tripping. I really did. I felt out of my body, and my mom actually came to the campus and was like, because she literally called me, and it was like, I guess her mother intuition, she was like, something's very off with this conversation. She drove there and just picked me up. She was like, you're actually coming home. I was like, okay. And then I didn't return. But I learned a lot culturally at Five Towns, even though the classes I really couldn't follow. One being, and this is, okay. Okay, I grew up very culturally Italian. I grew up, so my family, they all lived in Brooklyn, and then they got summer houses out where I live on Long Island. I won't tell you exactly where, because that's a little sus, but they all lived on this same block, right on the beach, and at one point, there was like 13 of the houses on the block were my extended family members, and my mom ended up buying a house up the road. So I grew up on that same street with all those extended family members for a majority of my life until relatively recently when they started naturally, dying and whatever. So then they all sold their houses out in Brooklyn and they were here full time, and that's how we were all a family. So I grew up very culturally Italian. The sauces on Sundays, the yelling, the mental illness that was just chalked up to being, I'm Italian, right? Like, I flip tables and I am extremely anxious, but it's just because I'm Italian. Girl, you're mentally ill, right? Like, you are mentally ill, but we're not going to talk about that. That's for another time, too. But with that being said, I had really never experienced other cultures, and I mean that in just a very honest way. Literally, there was, like, no Black people, like, in my school. There was very few Hispanics. There was very few Asians. I mean, there was really my whole town was Italian. And so when I went to college, I was like this culture shock, because, okay, like, I wasn't racist. Like, I didn't dislike people. I just realized I didn't know anything about them. Like, example, there was a girl in my school who was, like, beautiful. Oh, my God. She was, like, she's probably like 5'11", this skinny, like, beautiful angel girl. Like, everyone used to meme about it. Like, here she comes. Like, she walked on air. It was crazy. And she was Black, and she used to wear wigs. But at that time, I didn't know that Black people wore wigs because I had really never interacted with that many, like, Black people. And so I used to say to her every day, because she used to have, like, different hair all the time, and I said, wow, girl, like, I love your hair. And she would kind of, like, go, like, thanks, Em. Like, I appreciate it, And, I never could understand why she kind of would blow me off. I was like, why is she, like, not taking the compliment, And then one day she arrived to school bald. And I was like, where's your hair? Why did you cut off your beautiful hair? And she's like, bitch, that was a wig. That was crazy, Or, I had the flyaway hair, and my friends were like, bitch, like, why not, like, you shape on, and they were like, slicking my hair back, and all, like, just little things like that I realized that I was really culturally isolated, I think, is what I got from college mostly. And it really encouraged me to, like, step outside of the box more and just learn more about people. Like, I don't want to be that person. Like, I don't want to be the person who doesn't know anything about anybody. Like, I just thought, like, it scared me deeply when, okay, so this doesn't have to do with college, but it kind of, like, leans into that whole kind of. Also, none of this was planned, right? I have notes of what I want to talk to. I only hit one so far. Like, none of this conversation was planned, so I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent. My brain just works like this. My mom tells me I have ADHD. I don't think I do. I really don't think I do. I think that I'm just, like, I don't know. Whatever. She got me a planner this Christmas for ADHD people, and it has squirrels on it, like, to represent, I guess, your brain. I was like, okay. Anyway. No. So I went down to, like, just an example of this, like I'm saying culturally, right? I went down to Delaware. My cousin lives down in Delaware. She's super Italian as well. really Italian. And I went down there for like almost a whole summer once because I was getting treatments down in DC, and we like went down there and we'd go to DC blah, 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 for the weekends. And while I was there, you know, naturally everyone's Caucasian, so I kind of was just like, okay, whatever, like, and my cousins are Italian, so I just, whatever. I didn't, like, it didn't physically look different, right? Like, it didn't look very culturally diverse. And, you know, so I was just like, whatever, everything was the same, but it didn't feel right. Something still felt off. I still felt very like, what's going on? You know, like, I just didn't feel right. And so then on the way home, we were driving through Staten Island to get back to Long Island. And we stopped at this place called Giacomo's for pizza. And I get to the front, and the guy's like, what do you want? Like, hey, like, what do you want, honey? Like, and I was like, can I get a pink sauce? He's like, yeah, I got you. Like, he knew exactly what I meant. And I realized, like, I feel right at home. Like, that I have experienced cultural displacement down in Delaware. Does anyone care? Okay, nobody cares. Okay, we're moving on. I just went on. What was I even talking? Oh my God! I didn't even get to the second part of my college journey. Can I get to the second part? Okay. I'm yelling. I'm sorry, this is too loud. I'm literally yelling. We're getting to the second part. So after I left 5 towns and learned nothing except Black culture, I went to Suffolk Community College. And everyone talks smack about community college, but I'll tell you, like, there's no difference, and you save so much money. So anybody who talks smack about community college, literally, I don't fucking care. And I worked like 3 jobs at a time. I was insane, and I was extremely depressed. Because it was very lonely. You know, that's the only thing with community college, is just that it's very, very lonely. But, I do credit that time where I was really healthy. I was actually dating a bodybuilder at the time, so it was nice because I went to the gym anyway, but like I had a lot of gym friends, and I was like meal prepping, and he was like bullying me to eat well all the time, which was kind of a problem, but it kept me really healthy and really on track, and with the working and stuff, like I was making money. So that time was a time of like a lot of isolation but growth, you know, and I came out of there feeling very confident. And then I went on after that to Stony Brook University. I hate you, Stony Brook, if you're listening. Every part of you. The culture there is so dry. Like, I went to like 1 or 2 Stony Brook parties, the worst parties I've ever had. And I used to be the party host, right? This is like some secret lore about me that I don't even like to talk about anymore because it was actually embarrassing retrospectively. I used to host the parties, and they were banging. Like, ask anybody on Long Island, Suffolk County, have you ever been to an Emy McB party? They'd be like, that shit was lit. Like, we had so much fun, but I feel really guilty about it because, like, to this day, if you ask my dad, like, he wants to disown me. He's so pissed off because I obviously used to do it, like, behind his back. And I just regret that a lot. Like, I feel like, what was I thinking? Like, the amount of damage I could have done to myself, to my family, like, just so stupid. But it was a growing experience. Can't regret it. I had a lot of fun. Can't regret it, but I did, right? So anyway, so I went to Stony Brook. Horrible. Just dry. I mean, I had like 1 or 2 Actually, I took a podcasting class. Shout out Imran. I loved him. Oh, he was so hot. I hope he never sees this, but he really was hot. He's married, and I respect that. Please. But fuck, right? And I also had one other teacher who was like my film teacher. She was sick. She's a cool lady. Overall, I had like 1 friend, maybe. And it was just miserable. I just hated it. I thought about dropping out all the time. Because keep in mind. So while I said I had my 3 jobs, I started singing. I started singing on weekends, and I was singing at bars, restaurants, breweries, wineries, because out on Long Island, there's a really big market for that. I mean, it's like Long Island wine country is like the big thing, and like the Hamptons and all of that. So there's a lot of area for live music, which was something that this is something I can totally get into later, because this is a whole other thing, like how I actually got into music. Because I never thought that was an avenue that was even possible. I thought that you either had to be famous or you couldn't make money, and that's just not true. So I started just singing on the weekends, and then by the time I got to Stony Brook, I was doing it a lot, and I was like, wait, I shouldn't even be in college, I should just grow this business. But my parents were like insistent, you have to like finish. And then when COVID happened, obviously all the live music was shut down, so I figured, well, I already have credits, I might as well do some stuff online. And so that's how it ended up kind of just finishing itself out. But I hated every second of it. I wanted to drop out all the time, and I kind of wish I did. A little bit. I'm happy I have a degree, but to finally get to the point after 15 minutes is that I graduated with zero plan. I graduated with a degree in psychology that I will never use, because I really only got a degree in psychology because it comes to a certain point in the semester, in like the year, I don't know, maybe second year, you have to pick a major. And so I picked psychology because my credits somehow like fit in with that, and somehow it just, I guess, whatever. That's how I got it. And then I ended up getting a minor in film because I also had enough credits to kind of somehow get that. So I ended up just getting a degree that, like, what the fuck am I gonna do with that? Does anybody know? I mean, sure, I could go to, like, film school, but, like, did I need a fucking degree to be a film? No. Like, I learned a lot. I did. In film, I learned a lot. Psychology, I learned almost nothing because I fudged my way through the whole thing, which was pretty much my entire academic career, like, throughout my life. Because most of the time I was, like, muddling through fucking childhood illness trying to get, like, through a class. Like, do I give a fuck? I'm dying. Right? No, but seriously, so I wasn't sure if I was going to curse on this podcast, so it looks like I am. But, yeah, so, so I graduated, and oh my God, my brain, bro. Can it work correctly? Can it stay on? What am I talking about? What the Okay, so anyway, so I'm graduated now, and I sing full-time for a living. That's the point. That's the point. But when I first graduated in May, which was not that long ago, it's only December or January. Sorry, it's like January 4th when I'm recording this. When I graduated, I had my graduation party. I was very excited. I really leaned into the celebration aspect of everything. But I was so deeply depressed because I felt behind my entire life, right? I mean, I felt behind in high school, obviously, for obvious reasons. I felt behind because I never really got that true American college experience. Like, I never went away to college. I never, I didn't have I didn't have a clear path. My sister's a corporate lawyer. My sister went to she was valedictorian of this high school. She went to Cornell, an Ivy League school, and then became a corporate lawyer, and now lives in Manhattan and, like, whatever. Granted, she hates it, right? She's like, working this kind of sucks. Like, it's a lot of work. But, she's going to put some money away, and, she just got engaged, so she's going to have, like, she kind of has, like, a plan, a kind of a route, and I just felt like I did not have that. But fortunately, this summer came around, and, I had built my music business to the point where I was singing, at least 4 days a week, doubles most days. So I was working a lot, and at least, for a musician, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually a lot. And I've been making, like, enough money, right? So it has kind of worked out for me, but even with stuff like this, this has been an idea for me forever. Like, I always said, I would love to... Okay, so this is another hot take with music. I did not anticipate being a singer. When I was younger, I used to love writing. I thought I was going to be maybe a writer. Like, I'm talking about 4th grade. I was a good writer. And then I just started kind of singing for fun. And one of my neighbors actually told me, why don't we just go to an open mic? I went. I used to do open mics a lot. And then I would do... I would sing at, like, senior centers just to volunteer, just for fun. It was something I just liked. And I think part of me just wanted my voice heard, which probably is the same vein as, like, a podcast. I just felt like I had a lot to say. And I used to go to these open mics. The real reason I started doing the open mics was because I had a crush on this guy. I'll never forget him. And he used to be like a singer. He was like a Vine singer, and everybody loved him, and he was so cute. Blech! Whatever. Everybody loved him. And he used to go to these open mics, so I would write songs about him, because I didn't know how to express my feelings, right? I didn't know how to express my feelings. I was very behind, I'll say, like, with stuff. Like, I didn't kiss anyone until I was, like, 18. I was really, so this is when I was 16, so I hadn't even kissed anyone. And I used to go to these open mics and write songs about him and sing them in front of him. And sometimes I think he knew it was about him, and sometimes he did not. But that's really how I got, like, started with even wanting to sing, because I just wanted him to know how I felt about him, and I didn't know how to tell him, so I just used to sing it. And then, you know, naturally, so when I was singing at these senior centers and things like that, I think it was just somehow, I think one of the people there had said, like, hey, you know, I sing at this place, or, like, I, like, know the owner of this restaurant, would you ever want to sing at a restaurant? And I didn't even know that was really a thing. I didn't know, I had never really seen live music like that, and I said, sure, you know, I'd go. And so I went, and it was a 3-hour set, and I muddled through it. I had only probably an hour's worth of music, so I sang every song 3 times, and I took, like, at least a minute or 2 between each song, because I just was like, I do not have enough music for this. And I muddled through, but it was a vibe, and I got paid. I think I got paid, like, nothing. I think I got paid, like, $50 and a free meal, but I was so hyped, you know, I thought that was the coolest thing. And then once I realized that that was a thing, I started kind of inquiring with places like coffee shops and saying, hey, you know, do you do music? And they're like, yeah, do you want to sing? And, you know, granted, in the beginning, I got paid, like, nothing, which, this is something else I would love to talk about eventually. If you're a singer or you want to be a singer, get paid, okay? Can you not ruin it for all of us? Like, I hate when people are like, I just want to go and have fun. I'm going to go sing for free. No! Like, do not fucking do that. Because then people like me who do this for a living and charge for it, people are going to be like, why would I hire her when I can just hire somebody else who sings for free? Do you know what I mean? That's so annoying. Whatever. I'm sorry. I'm really not a bitch. I'm not a nasty person, but that! I think, I'm so sorry if I'm yelling in your headphones. That bothers me. But anyway, yeah, so I sing for a living now. And it really just fell in my lap. I was very lucky with that, like, the making money fell in my lap, because there's so many people I know who sing or who make music, and they just make no money. Like, they, you know, I mean, they have, like, stuff on Spotify, as do I. You know, I have stuff on Spotify. I make, like, no money on it. I have, like, TikTok, and, you know, people send me stuff, which is, like, amazing, but, you know, it's not enough to live on. You know, I just wish, like, I see so many of my friends make music, and they never go out there. Like, and granted, sometimes, like, genre. Like, if you're doing rap, or if you're doing hip-hop, or pop, or whatever, like, okay, you're probably not going to be a good fit for, like, an Italian restaurant. But I just see so many venues, like, taking advantage of people. Like, even venues that are suited for that, taking advantage of people and being like, oh, come play for exposure. Exposure to who? The only people who are here is, like, my mom, my dad, and 3 friends. And, like you said, there's going to be people at this venue. I'm not getting exposed. I'm just getting cheated, basically. Because a lot of times, oh, this is the thing. Okay, if you don't know about the music industry, so venues, and I'm not talking about restaurants and bars and things. I'm talking about, like, say, venues with, like, ticketed venues and, like, promoted events. There's countless venues, or that I've encountered, that people would say to me stuff like, okay, you sell tickets for $10 a piece, you need to sell at least 10 because we want $100, and then after that you get the money, right? So believe it or not, 10 tickets is not easy to sell anymore. Like, I have, like, a mailing list now, and so I have a significant people who come out to my shows and stuff like that. But in the beginning, I mean, I'm, like, hard, even to this day, I feel like I'm hard-pressed to get friends to come to anything. You know, and it's not like I'm inviting them to, half the time it's not even a ticket event, it's, like, free at a really fun brewery, and I'm like, hey, like, come and, like, have some beers with me when I sing, and they're like, sorry, bitch, like, fuck you, whatever. This is why I have no friends. Sorry, guys, if you're my friend listening to this, fuck you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, a lot of my friends are very supportive, and I appreciate you all. But, like, say a ticketed event, to get 10 people to pay $10 is, like, really hard nowadays. So, especially when someone like me, I sing other places for free. Like, why would they come to a place they have to pay, you know? So, but either way, the venue wants their $100. So even if you don't, say you sell 5 tickets, that you pay them $50 to play. So they're literally just stealing. I could go on so many rants about how people are taking advantage of. I mean, everyone talks about the big scale, like, oh yeah, like the record companies like stealing from these people. This happens on a very small level too. Like this happens to people who are not famous, you know, whatever. Anyways, another bullet point I had for this podcast was how I didn't want to make this because, like, I didn't make this podcast right away. Like, it took me months to psych myself up for this. I've had this idea for months. Ever since my friend started, I was like, oh, this is so fun. We should do this more. I didn't start this because I thought I was too fat. Okay? Do you guys not have an eating disorder? Hey, did you guys survive 2014 Tumblr unscathed? Because I personally didn't. Do any of y'all give a fuck what I look like? If you're listening, okay, maybe you're watching this on YouTube or wherever else I post this content. But if you're listening to this audio, do you know if I'm fat or not? Do you know if I gained an extra 5 pounds before I posted this? Does anyone actually care? Did anyone, no, I'm not going to go about 2014, like, what's it like not having an eating disorder? And you know what's the worst part about, okay, can we dive right in? Can we get really personal since I haven't already exposed my entire life? Girl, how much should I reveal? My friend, her name's Michelle, by the way. Her podcast is called Laugh Often with Michelle. We have a couple episodes on there that are pretty funny. I don't know. I think they're funny. Like the one of me and Jake Bug. We go way back. The thing is, me and Michelle, we go back so far, but we did this one about me meeting Jake Bug. Oh, it was really funny, but I'm not even going to get into it because, oh, God, I love him so much. Like, literally, Jake, if you're listening to this, like, just please call me. No, I'm kidding. But I'm serious. No. You know what it is? Jake Bug's personality, if you know him, he would be, like, so cringed out by that. Whatever, I love him. So, low-key, okay. 2014 Tumblr, everyone wanted to be Eleanor Calder. If you were there, you get it. If you weren't, you don't. But I wanted a thigh gap so badly. I was like, I didn't even, and no one talks about this. I used to tell this to the girl I babysit all the time. You know, because I started babysitting her when she was, oh my gosh, was she 11 or 12? And I told her, listen, girl, like, because she was already starting with the whole body dysmorphia thing. And I was like, no, this is what you don't understand. Like, when we were growing up, when Instagram and stuff it was really new. And people were photoshopping pictures. We didn't even know Photoshop was really a thing. We didn't even know you could lie like that. We were just like, damn, look at that thigh gap. Like, it was fake half the time, I'm sure. And if it wasn't, there's so few people who actually have that naturally. But we're not even gonna. But I told her, you know, like, did you guys experience this when you, if you're a girl, nobody tells you, like, everyone tells you in health school, your health class, if they even do it, they tell you, you're gonna get your period, you're gonna get boobs. That's it. They don't even tell you, like, this is what they don't tell you. They don't tell you that, you know, when a guy asks you to sit in a car with him after a Tinder date and listen to music, he's trying to fuck, right? Like, they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that if a guy is like, hey, our first date is smoking weed and sitting in my car listening to music, he's a dirtbag, right? No one mentions that. They don't mention that you should skip the Four Loko phase, just have a shot of tequila. Steal your mom's tequila. Don't suffer, right? Nobody mentions that about puberty. Nobody tells you that you're, I mean, whatever. But what people also don't tell you about your body is that from the ages to 11 to 14, you are going to put on like 50 pounds. If not, maybe 30, 50. You're going to gain significant weight. It's not fat. It's not necessarily fat. And sometimes it is. But your body is preparing to have a baby. Your hips are going to get bigger. Your jeans are never going to fit the same. Your chest, you're not going to feel your breastbone anymore. Sorry, girls. One day you're going to wake up and you'll never feel your chest again. You're just going to feel 2 lumps of fat sitting there if you're so blessed to have big boobs, right? Nobody talks about that. So when I went from 11 to 14, I was looking at pictures of Eleanor Calder, wanted to be her so bad because I loved Louis Tomlinson like no tomorrow. And then I just suddenly, in one summer, put on, I think 30 pounds. I literally think 30 pounds because I don't even know. I actually didn't even take my weight when I was 11 years old, but I knew at 14 that I was significantly larger, and I was extremely upset about it. But it's like, now retrospectively, I see like, okay, I was just becoming a woman. Like, you gain fat. And that's not a bad thing, right? Fat is good for you to an extent, right? Excessive is not, because you're just not healthy. But to an extent, fat is a good thing for your body. Like, you need it. You're not built like a little girl anymore, is what I'm saying. And even to this day, I am 25 years old. I just turned 25, which is a whole other existential crisis that I will get into. I still see pictures of like 18-year-olds on the internet. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was that skinny. She's a child! She's a child. Why am I comparing myself to a child? That's not normal. Okay? 25 is crazy though, I'll tell you. Because when when you're 20, and I have a bunch of friends who are like in their early 20s right now. Like they're 20. I'm in my kind of like mid 20s now. But say 20, 21, 22, you're having such a good time. And actually, I was miserable at that age, but I was having a good time in the sense that, like, I finally kind of felt like an adult. I could finally drink for the most part, like, legally. So I could do things. I had a good haircut. I was kind of my skinniest, I think. And I was dating, but it was casual. Like, there was no pressure. Like, no one wanted to get married at 20. No one wanted to, like, have a baby at 20. And, you kind of still had that, like, feeling of anything's possible. And I have plenty of time to figure it out. 25, yo? I mean, talk about another depressive episode. 25, and this was only a couple of weeks ago. I only turned 25, like, literally 3 weeks ago. The past 3 weeks, I have been vegetative. This is, like, the first day I'm sitting upright, if I'm honest with you. Because, like, within the next 5 years, I'm gonna be 30! And 30 I'm gonna be... And my sister is only 3 years older. She is engaged. She has a career. She has an apartment. She's like, it's just, I thought that I would be, quote, further along. I guess everybody feels that way. But the bigger issue is, like, within the next 5 years, I'm supposed to know who I'm going to marry, if I'm going to have children, where I'm going to live, what my career is going to, what? And granted, that's all kind of just a formality. Like, it's just like, oh, you're, this is the age you kind of establish yourself. Meanwhile, I know 30-year-olds who, like, I feel like everyone's behind, especially if you live on Long Island or New York or New Jersey or California or anywhere that it's, like, irrationally expensive. That's not even the right word. But anywhere that it's, like, stupid expensive, I don't know a single friend who actually doesn't live at home. Except my sister, who's a corporate lawyer, who's, like, literally, like, top 3% of earners probably in the country at this point. I actually don't know a single friend who doesn't live at home with, like, their parents, because literally taxes here for a home is $15,000 a year. Taxes. Just property taxes, not your mortgage, not your utilities, not any other expenses like, gas for your car, food for your table, right? Going out, I don't know, leaving the house. So it's so difficult. And I have friends who have, like, good jobs. Like, I have a friend who's a teacher. I have a friend, which is a good job in New York for reference. I have multiple friends who are teachers. I have friends who, God, a lot of my friends actually don't really have jobs, huh? Same, guys. No, I have a friend who works, like, in the local government. And he makes good money, but he lives at home, right? Like, it's like, everybody, like, that's what I'm saying. Even if you make good money, you're still living at home because it's still just not enough. So in that way, I guess I can say to myself, like, I'm really not that behind because, how many people can really say, like, they have their own business, which I do, who, only work, like, 3 days a week, like, 8 hours a week. I don't know, what else? I actually have nothing else going for me. I'm a loser. Am I a loser? No, I actually do a lot of fun stuff, though. Like, I do, like, triathlons. I'm a gym girly. I'm a gym girl. You can't tell. you can't tell, I maintain an incredibly mid physique despite all of that. I'm kidding. That's my eating disorder talking. Sorry. Oh my god. No. But what else do I do? I forage. But you know what? I feel like I'm so distracted these days by my phone and stuff that it's like, is time even like I could get so much done if I actually just did it, but I just don't because whatever. Anyway, so that was all my bullet points, guys. It's been 35 minutes. What's a normal time? Like, I think a podcast can range from like 30 minutes to an hour. So I'm going to kind of end now because I'll do another episode and we can dive into another topic. I have a lot of I shouldn't move that microphone. I have a lot of deep things I want to talk about on here because, believe it or not, I do have a serious sensitive side, and I feel like I have lived a lot of life in a very short amount of time, and some things I think are hard to talk about, but in the same way, sometimes I think you have to sacrifice your privacy. I don't want to say privacy, but maybe sacrifice a little bit of your privacy to help the greater good. Because I think that things that I've struggled with in my life, most of the time how I got through it was because I talked to other people about it. And also Jesus has really been big in my big in my life this year. Okay? Listen, I know that I just outed myself there, oh, she's the Jesus girl. Oh my god, we thought she was so cool and now she's the Jesus girl. Listen! Listen! Jesus is coming back. And I was not always a Jesus girly the way I am today, okay? So, this is another side rant. Should I go? Okay, this podcast is actually going to be 40 minutes long. Okay. So, this year was crazy for me because I worked at a beach a couple of years ago, and it was right after my grandma died, and I was going through an existential crisis to begin with. I didn't really know if I believed in anything. I grew up very spiritual, I grew up Catholic. My family, they Italian. And my dad was Irish, so they baptized me, when I went to Catholic church, and I felt like it was not super personal. I didn't know the priest personally. I got my communion, but I actually never got my confirmation because they did not allow me to get my confirmation because I did not attend enough religion classes, even though I consider myself very spiritually involved. But I was sick at the time, so I really couldn't go to the classes, which was kind of fricked up. Who doesn't let a sick person get their confirmation? Whatever, that's a whole other fucking issue. But that was what I'm saying. It was not personal. It was not they knew me there. So I really didn't have a church community. I didn't really know that existed. And I believed in God 100%. Jesus, I thought, to be honest with you, I thought that he was just I kind of thought he was just a cool guy. I didn't necessarily know if he was the son of God, but I was I think he was totally a guy who came here with a purpose, as we all do. I just believe in overall everybody has their own path and purpose of being here, whether or not it's big or small. I think everybody has their own place, and I thought that his place was to, spread the word of God. And whether or not you believe Jesus is the son of God, the way this man has changed the course of history. One man came here and completely changed the course of the world forever. You can't deny that. Oh gosh, the things that this man has done, right? And the amount of lives that he's touched, whether or not, far past his existence, right? His death. He just did, whatever. That's kind of mind-boggling because there has never been a single figure of history who has done nearly that. So anyway, that's that. But so I didn't really know who Jesus was. I was just more of a God person than I was a Jesus person, and I was a universal energy person more than I was even a God person. I was I don't know if God is a man, but I know that there's a big energy that rules over all of us, and that is something that I had so much weird evidence for throughout my life that I think over time you kind of forget, or you kind of chalk up to oh, it's just a coincidence, but I just don't think that anymore. So at the time that I was working at the beach, I was very introspective. I was really down. I spent a lot of my life depressed, to be honest with you, believe it or not. But I was listening to a lot of podcasts, actually, about spirituality, and it was everything from conservative Christianity to witchcraft to Buddhism, whatever. It was just all spiritual podcasts just to kind of see where people were at, because I kind of had no thing. And I had a few that really, really resonated with me. One was Heather Thompson Day. She's a Christian. And I thought a lot of the things she said was really, really resonated with me. And I think kind of turned, what they say is like turned my heart posture really towards God and the idea of Jesus. I was like, this is interesting. Like, I feel like she's on to something. And granted, I still really subscribe to a lot of, I don't want to say witchcraft because that comes with like demonic stuff. I don't mean demonic witchcraft, but I mean like holistic kitchen witchery, like the idea of like, because like spells and stuff, it's not really spells, it's just like meditation. It's like the idea of meditation, similar to prayer, I guess. Meditation, asking the universe for things and, you know, sitting down and drinking your herbal tea and like envisioning good things. Like I get that aspect of it still, but I just kind of really leaned into prayer. And I was like, you know what? They always say, you know, if you want God to reveal himself to you, just ask and see if he does. And I prayed, and it was actually a really interesting time because it was I had gotten out of a 2.5-year relationship that was really not healthy. You know, when I reflected on it, most of it was not good. And it was with someone who I don't think really loved me. I think the whole time he loved the idea of me, and he loved kind of maybe what, you know, I think he liked me as kind of just a person around, but he never really planned for me to be in his life, I don't think, long term. And I think there was a part of him that also deeply resented me because I grew up very, very differently and, quite frankly, just more privileged than him. And he, I think, deeply hated me for that. So that was a whole side thing. But that relationship ending was really hard for me, not because it was like a relief to be done with him because I felt like it was bad for so long, but it really negatively influenced my sense of self, and I found myself questioning myself and who I was, and like, was I a privileged white bitch? Was I a, you know, like, you know, he used to always say stuff like, oh, you still live at home with your family. Meanwhile, he did too. Or like, oh, like, you don't understand, like, what I've been through because your family is comfortable. And I was like, am I, like, entitled? You know, like, just weird, just things like I really was questioning who I was. And, like, was I a good person, you know? So it was just very difficult. And he ended up kind of doing where it was not confirmed that he, like, cheated, but he went on vacation and then came back with another girlfriend, basically. Like, I don't know if he cheated, but he definitely found somebody else, and I don't even know if they're still dating. I'm the type, I have never checked any of his social media. I don't know if he blocked me, I don't know. I have never checked a single thing of his, so I don't know if they're still dating. I don't know. But yeah, so I have no idea where he is right now, but fuck you. Wherever you are, you fucking son of a bitch. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, I hope he's good. Not really, but I hope he's good. Yeah, so, anyway, sorry, that got me in my feels a little bit. See, it, like, still hurts me. And it's not like I miss him at all. It's just, it really, like, that time in my life, I really was so uncertain and so unhappy with who I was. And I had never felt that. Like, for the most part, even when I struggled with, like, stuff like body dysmorphia, with, like, anxiety and whatever, I mean, struggled with whatever, I always kind of had that grain of, but at the core, I really like who I am. Like, at the core self, I know I am a good person and I'm trying my best. And it shook that for me. It shook, like, that core identity. So when you think about it, that's the time I really needed God, right? So I prayed about it, and I was at work, I remember, and it was the 6-month mark since him and I had broken up. I was really shook up, and I was like, I have so many questions for him that I wish I could ask, but he lived, like, in the city, so I was like, I'm never even going to run into him. Like, I'm not going to call him. I'm not going to, like, because I don't want him to get the impression, like, I want to be back with him or anything. Like, I don't want to contact him, but also I would love to know, like, just I just need closure, basically. I was like, I'm praying for closure, and even, you know, I'm like, I'm not going to see him, but please give it to me in my heart. like, God, like, give me the closure in my heart if you're really in this with me. And not if you're real, but, like, if you're real, right? So I pray that on a Thursday. The next day, it was a Friday or Saturday, I'm not sure, but that weekend, I went out to Patchogue, which, if you're familiar with Long Island, it's like the bar central of the island. I mean, it's like it's just a strip of bars. It's where everyone goes out. And I went there just casually. I hadn't been there in months. I only went because one of my friends is a DJ and he invited me. And I'm walking along the streets, and who is standing there with the girl but my ex? He's with the girl that he is now he was dating, who he left me for. And I literally ran up to him, and I just asked everything I wanted. I was like, oh, hey, how are you? By the way, blah, 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 blah. I got every answer I needed, and, you know, in my head, I had this picture, because, again, I never looked at a photo of the girl. Like, I heard about it. Some of my friends told me, like, when it happened, but I never, like, saw a photo of the girl, and so in my head, naturally, I was like, oh my God, she probably looks like this. She's probably skinnier than me. And when I saw her, like, and obviously I'll never talk bad about another girl. Like, it's not her fault that he was a fucking asshole. But when I saw her, she just felt very human to me, right? Like, she felt very, like, this is not some fantasy woman I've put on my pedestal, put on a pedestal in my head who is so much greater than me and is worth, you know, leaving me for or whatever. This is just another girl. And if anything, you know, she was a little sassy to me at the end. But if anything, I felt kind of sorry for her because, like, she looked at him the way probably I used to look at him. And, you know, she thought, like, oh, I'm with a really cool guy and he's really handsome and whatever. And, like, I'm like, girl, you don't even know that this guy is going to destroy your life. And maybe he hasn't. Like, maybe they got along better. Maybe it worked out better. And, you know, I guess I hope it did for her and for him. You know, I hope that changes, because you don't want people like that just walking around, like, in the world, because they just, like, contaminate the world with hatred, and that's a horrible thing. But, yeah, I don't know. But the point, sorry, I'm getting such, do you see how, like, actually this has deflated me? Oh my God, the energy change is crazy. I better wrap this up because the energy change is crazy. I want to keep it high. Anyway, the point is, God came through for me, right? I saw God, like, very clear. And so, again, I prayed again later on, and I said, because I was listening to podcasts again, they were talking about church family, church community. I didn't have that, and I prayed, and I said, God, please give me a church community and a church family. I would love to have one. Literally, within the month, some guy literally just came up to me at a soccer practice. You know, we were just playing pickup soccer, and he was like, would anyone like to come to a church group? I was like, are you fucking joking? And I said yes, and I went. I met so many great people the first night, and they invited me to actually a Bible study, which I have been going to ever since, and this was a little, like, within the year, but it was like 8 months ago, maybe. I don't even know. But, like, you know, I've been going a while, and then from there, like, I had, at the place I was doing the Bible study, I've now become, like, a goer of the church, and it's just, like, completely changed my life. I mean, these people, I mean, the outpouring of love that I have received from them, the amount of knowledge I have received from them, they've just taught me so much about not only just, like, God and spirituality and how you want to be and who you want to be, but just who Jesus is and what he really represents and what he really means, and how, you know, I had lived with a lot of regret about a lot of things, which I'll get into another episode, but I lived with a lot of regret about a lot of things and a lot of anger and a lot of sadness. And I mean, you could talk about even with this relationship, I was like, why the fuck was I still in it? Why did I allow myself to be with someone who didn't love me? And, you know, why, of the parties, right? Why did I do stuff that was so damaging, that could have been so damaging to my family? And I had trouble, like, forgiving myself for a lot of things, and really beat myself up. And it was just the idea of, like, no, but the point is that, like, you come in, you get baptized, you decide you're going to change your life and live and try to live better and live more like Jesus and follow his teachings. And your slate is wiped clean, right? Like, you are a brand new person. Like, start from here. And if I were to say, oh, I'm starting from when I first, you know, went to that church, like, this is my life now, I think I've been doing good. Like, I've been doing much better. And obviously I'm not perfect, but if I'm judging myself, if I completely leave the past behind, like, life is good, right? Like, life is good. And it's going to only get better. So, anyways, I hope, God, 25 to 30, whatever. Okay, anyway, so that was my podcast, guys. I don't know. I'll just keep doing these until somebody listens, and if they don't, whatever, this will be a fun record for myself. Years to go. Yeah. Let's manifest I make some Alex Cooper money. Let's go, Alex Cooper. Theo Vaughn. Hey, Theo, if you're watching, I know you hate women. I hate men. Let's have a baby. Anyway. All right, guys. So thanks so much for tuning in. Like, if you're actually listening to this and you listen to the whole thing, I really appreciate you tuning in, like, and just spending your time with me. And I hope that it improved your day. And if it didn't, check out my music on all streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. Emy McB. Anyway, goodbye. Love you guys. Bye. See you. Oh, okay, bye.